Today's Tactical Tuesday episode is going over some tech cards that I saw in researching meta lists in Japan. While our metas are not identical, there are certain cards that in reading them gave me a sense of why they would be used. And here I am with my findings. This episode will go over broadly 10 cards that I thought had interesting effects, and while they may or may not be groundbreaking, you might consider adding them to your deck as well. Number 10, Alice McCoy. Alice McCoy sees some play in Japanese meta lists, particularly Old Force Digimon. Why? I don't really have much of an idea. But in retrospect, this card can be useful for several reasons. First, when you Digivolve from level 5 to 6, you can delete one of your other Digimon to reduce the Digivolution cost by 3. While having 2 Digimon can be a problem sometimes, Blue Flare tends to be a dark horse in the meta, and this can be utilized to delete one Digimon to prevent their effects from going off as you Digivolve. While not game-breaking, if you'd rather keep your Digimon, another tech card that I'll mention for the 10th slot would be Win Rate 60%. Number 9. Omnimon Merciful Mode. With Beelzemon getting very popular, some decks that turbo up to level 6 may consider adding this Digimon if they are red, blue, yellow, or green. This card when Digivolving lets you delete one of your opponent's Digimon for each Mega trait in this Digimon. Meaning in theory, you could delete up to 4 Digimon if you had 2 level 6s that are X variant along with an Omnimon and its X counterpart. But afterwards, you get to place 10 cards from your opponent's trash to the bottom of their deck. Meaning you could turn that 20 card trash into 10 and set them back. While it could be useful, the expensive memory cost is what turns me away from this card, but in green you could turbo into it with the help of Hidden Potential discovered. Number 8. Wisemon. The more I read this card, the more I thought, never mind, this has some playability. Number 1, it's a wizard, meaning it's searchable with Eye and Mako and could be utilized to manipulate the top 3 cards of your deck. Even if you had 1 card, you can still Digivolve into a Omnimon, assuming you have a yellow source underneath it that would let you recover the 3rd card into your security, since you would draw the 2nd for Digivolve. But even in security control decks, this lets you utilize the 2nd card as a Magnet Angemon target. Number 7. Final Zubagon Punch. This card may make a return for some decks. Considering Raid War Greymon could get to absurd DPs and have extra protection from Yuya, if you opt not to use Taikamiya, this could be used to give your Digimon blocker, reboot, and a slew of other effects for the turn. However, if security control bounces back, I might argue that a delicate plan would be better. But for the memes, Final Zubagon Punch deserves some credit. Number 6. Calumon. Calumon is an interesting tech choice moving into BT12. It can be utilized specifically by Beelzemon and Gallantmon decks in the upcoming format, until EX4 when Sakuyamon might have enough to make it more competitive. Calumon is great in that while it can't attack, you can gain a memory, draw 1 card, and have one of your Digimon gain plus 3000 DP for the turn. Because it doesn't have a level, decks like Beelzemon cannot get rid of it. On the flip side, Raid decks and Gallantmon decks can easily delete it. Number 5. Analog Youth. This card has been around for a long time, since EX1. But while it is a more fair version of Cool Boy, you can facilitate cards into the trash for purple decks. Now, hear me out. You could utilize this in Cross-Hard decks if you're trying to scrap multiple Digimon to decrease the play cost of Cross 7 Superior mode. That being said, Analog Youth has seen continued play even in the likes of decks like Mervaloop. Number 4. Blue Card. I've talked a lot already about cards that I've seen a lot of lately. Win Rate 60% made its way into Black War Greymon X after the limitation of Greymon X. But Blue Card can also do some hilarious things. With some of the cards I've mentioned in this video so far, you have ways to manipulate the top of your deck in the case of Wisemon, or even utilizing Tamers of Eye and Mako to force specific Digimon on top before playing this card. Because Quartzmon is not white, if you can sequence this on top, you can Digivolve into it for a cost of 3. Gotcha Green may actually be kind of funny moving into the next set. Number 3. Gigadeath. This card may not seem like much, but in combination with Quartzmon you can now do massive board wipes, since your opponent's Digimon do not unsuspend. Although expensive, it might be a hilarious board control you could use if you decide to go for a more control variant of blue and green. Number 2. Crimson Blaze. This card saw a lot of resurgence in the recent regionals that I had the opportunity to commentate with the Eggman on. This card can stop pesky cards that play cards by effects, including the favorites Crossheart Tamers, Mastamon through Mastamon's effect, Bloom Lord, and D-Brigade. While there aren't a lot of decks that really play cards by effects, other decks can gain more advantage from these effects because of Gallantmon's DP increase on deletion effects. It really just depends on your local meta. But coming in at number 1 for me is High Speed Plug-in D. This option card has not seen too much play, but in the upcoming meta where Raid War Greymon is going to be very popular for some players, having a big blocker is really annoying, especially if it can block twice. Because of this, how are ways you can mitigate it? With a simple option card, of course. Because the Greymon archetype has so much protection from bounce to hand or deck and deletion effects in general, why remove the threat when you can just go around it? This is where Black War Greymon X has a better advantage in that you can redirect the attacks at it instead of declaring a block. While your Digimon does get jamming, it does not protect against option cards. But on the bright side, higher DP is now out of the equation, and of course, being unblockable is very nice. Security-wise, you draw 1 card, then add this card to your hand. But the best part is that you can play this card regardless of color if you have a Tamer in play. While I wouldn't run this in a War Greymon deck, I highly recommend this card in decks like Ulforce moving forward. In general, what are your thoughts on some of the tech cards I discussed here for BT12 decks? And do you see yourself running any of them? Let me know your thoughts, as Across Time is mere days away. Thank you as always for your support, and I'll catch you on the next one. This is DigiPanda, logging out.